I came across this clip with Chris Cuomo sitting with James Carville, and I'm not a big James Carville, James Carville. He's a old school Democrat, one of the Democrats that I think that we as Democrats, former Democrats, friends of Democrats, should get away from. He's not going to be any good to us and his old way of thinking. Um, he is considered one of the top Democratic strategists, according to some of the news shows that you go on. They like to talk to him. He's fiery. He's got the little raging Cajun kind of thing going on, persona, paired with the military. But I just think James Carville is somebody we should stay far, far, far away from.
Legendary Democratic strategist James Carville recently told the progressive branch of his party, hey, maybe you go your way and we go ours. First of all, Jimmy, thank you for joining us. Happy Easter in advance. Rebirth and renewal resonates as much or more than ever. What did I get wrong?
Well, I don't think he got much wrong, but Citizens United was was Republican plaintiffs, all decided by Republican judges. So let's don't lay that on both sides.
Right.
That's clearly a Republican initiative. What I would quarrel with is not any facts, but what's happening to this guy in El Salvador. The trial judge, the appellate judge, 9 Supreme Court justices back to the trial court said, let him go. They are ignoring a court order. Well, if you do that, we become China. Xi doesn't care what the Chinese courts say. So I do think this is an elevated issue because if we
And James Carville don't give a damn about that guy over there in El Salvador. That's one of those things to get the masses to have their hearts softened up so we can go and vote and support and do our best to get the Democrats back in power. How does getting that guy back from El Salvador help us economically? How does that make prices go down? What is the Democrats' real plan other than trying to get us to feel bad about humanitarian type issues? Unfortunately, this young man was caught in the crosshairs of the Donald Trump administration, and it's kind of a difficult place if he is or has been affiliated with the gang. That should be a problem, in my opinion. And you don't just brush past that and play like it didn't happen. But in a quick response, James Carville doesn't give a damn about the guy. That right there is not factual. It's fake as hell, and it's just meant to get us to support whatever the hell it is the Democrats have in store for us, because we don't know. All we know is they oppose Donald Trump, and I want to get to the part where they have a plan. What direction do they want to take us in?
we don't go and get this innocent person out, who every judge that has looked at this says, get this guy back home, we're sacrificing what we got. But I totally agree. The effect of money in politics is sickening. And of course, Citizens United was a totally Republican initiative. But yeah, the Democrats, if you get a designated hitter, we're going to use a designated hitter. But I cannot argue with the fact that money holds way too much sway in politics today.
Well, money holds sway in politics because it holds sway everywhere, because we have allowed a very small group of corporate elite to dictate everything that happens in the.
And pay attention to what he's talking about. We have allowed a very small group of corporate elite. And James Carville should respond to that appropriately, which he won't. And I'm going to elaborate on it after they finish lying to us. Because it's terrible how bad they need our support, how bad they want our support, and how little they're willing to do for us. They want, instead of, the support to them looks like getting to our heart, making us feel bad about something they did or that the Republicans did, and voting with our hearts and not our minds, so they can continue to lead us down these weird paths that we end up on. Like right now is a very strange place for us to be at, and everybody's in the country is pissed at Donald Trump less than 100 days in, and he's really gotten on the wrong side of a whole lot of folks with his bold policies and bold moves. And guys like James Carville are part of the reason why we are where we are. Back in the 90s, he was a huge, huge Clinton advisor and strategist. and that's where the trajectory of where we are now started. And we'll talk more about that in a little bit.
This country, your party, you know, when it was Bill Clinton and my father nominating him, was he going to run against Bill or not? They were both about the same kinds of things, which were middle class families. Now, even when it's Bernie and AOC, they seem more like fringe radical types than making the case that I made up at the top.
They are fringe radical types because they really are that part of the party that has the real feeling of helping people and doing the work on the ground so the American people's lives can be changed one life at a time, and just where you feel the warmth and the caring and the trying. They're more from that part of the party. But there's a corporate part of the Democratic Party that is getting us in a whole lot of trouble and has gotten us in a whole lot of trouble. And folks like James Carville ain't ready to own up, turn in another direction, try to repair what we've damaged. He's ready to double down. And he feels that the direction that the country was heading in was fine. And he wants Trump out of the way. Pay attention to that. It only seems radical if you have been slowly moved into it. But when you take a big step back and look at it, the policies of Bill Clinton were as radical as what Donald Trump is trying to do. It's just that Bill Clinton had a longer amount of time to lay out his plans with that NAFTA treaty and all of that stuff than Trump. Trump's trying to reverse 30 years of governing in this country in 2 terms, basically 1 term, this term. And it's going to have a very cold reception. People aren't ready for that kind of pain because you're condensing what we all adjusted to over the course of 30 years in a 4-year term. And it's probably going to go pretty bad, but what it's going to do is cause us all to swing back and jump on that Democratic boat and get those guys back in power so they can do what? So that they can knock down all the tariffs that Trump put up, get back in the corporations' ears and let them know you're good to go. Get your business booming back in Canada and Mexico again. And he may damage us with China, but I'm sure that a market like the United States should have no problem finding someone to fill China's place in whatever area that we may lose. There's always going to be a baseline certain amount of trade between the United States and China. But what are we going to do when one part of the country is pulling this way and the other part of the country is pulling that way? And every time somebody gets in power, instead of figuring it out through a negotiation so that the American people get the best benefit from your little power struggle, your little war, or whatever the hell else is going on up there, you guys are just going full bore this way and full bore that way, and we are the ones suffering and falling for it each time, instead of doing what we should do as American citizens and claiming our place, like really claiming our place, not letting Democrats or Republicans tell us what we want, tell us what we need to increase our lives and our luxury and our quality of life in this country. Don't lie to us no more. Start spitting the truth. Everybody's a little more educated, has more access to this information, and you guys still lie. And you get caught in lies, and then you get right back in front of a camera again. That's brave.
Let me make a point about Bernie and AOC. But Bernie ran for president twice. He's lost twice. AOC, in her kind, and this guy, David Hull, they want to run against other Democrats.
Yeah.
They don't run against Republicans. Well, when you beat a Republican, come back and see me, and I will be impressed.
And he is an old school Democrat. And if you come from a new school Democrat, which I don't think we have none yet, no real ones who look at it like this, we lost. Now you got to get into strategy. Sure, we're at risk of even going down further in the House and in the Senate by primarying some of these people. But we also run the risk of primarying them with a stronger candidate. And I would say the stronger candidate would be the candidate that can win in that district. And if the Democrats are preventing us from having those primaries, from taking some of the older, or as they say, weaker candidates out and primarying them with new, fresh faces, people who probably never been in politics, but who feel like they have the drive and the passion to get in there and do something good. But the Democrats don't want that to happen because they're running the risk of putting a new face in there, hit that face not catching on, and the Republican, who may be a bigger face or a more recognized name, winning. It's a very difficult place. And as a strategist, I understand his methods and his agenda and where he's trying to go with this, but I don't agree with it. I'm a more fair-minded person when it comes down to, you aren't very effective for us, or you aren't the most effective for us. And it's not, there has to be a place for you in our party and on our team, but it will not be representing that particular district or representing Congress or the Senate at that level. You got to go do something else. And we're going to primary you. And if someone feels they have more to offer, they're going to be allowed to primary you so that the Democrats can fight it out in the voting booth and then get the best candidate out there. And then if we lose, then the top of the party is going to have to start looking at our ideas and our beliefs and where we're really trying to take the country. Because maybe no matter how smart the people you have are, if they're taking their intelligence on a bad ride because you guys have basically policies that aren't catching on, that aren't real popular. And once you accept that and shore some of that stuff up, then I think the party can move forward and get rid of the James Carvilles. They got to go. They cannot be leading the party. Get rid of all of them. Barack Obama, Hillary Clinton, her husband, their daughter, all of them. Anybody who feels that the old Democratic Party is the way should move aside and let the Democratic Party morph into something that's going to benefit us, if that's even possible. Because we're in a bad place right now, a really bad place. And we can blame as much of this on Trump as we'd like, but it was 30 years in the making. Donald Trump didn't take American factories and pack them up and move them to Mexico and Canada and China and Taiwan and wherever else the hell they moved to. But we have a problem now because people believe the middle class was loved and is loved by the Democrats when they destroyed the middle class. They took those jobs that the people who considered themselves middle class worked and shipped them. So then you had to get into another line of work. And what it created is more, I guess, millionaires, like in weird way, candle makers and T-shirt makers and, event planners and personal assistants, those type of things people had to go to because they had no jobs to go to. So they had to be entrepreneurial and creative. And unfortunately, everybody doesn't have that kind of drive and everybody doesn't have that kind of passion. And for a country the size of this one to just knock out the working class who considered themselves or had worked up to middle class status is devastating. Because what are they supposed to do? Where are they supposed to go? Look at the homelessness in the United States of America. Why are all these people who speak perfectly good English, who have no real serious mental issues that couldn't be helped, other than the fact that, what they're going through and have gone through would cause anybody mental anguish. But why haven't we gotten to the point where we realize by just looking at it, just step back and accept the fact that we didn't have Ross and Marshalls and TJ Maxx and Target and Walmart and all these stores with all these products on the shelves from all these other countries and not made in the USA. Did we ever think we'd really get to a point where made in the USA would be this rare? Would be this hard to find made in the USA products? Even American flags. Probably. I mean, it's really sad. I hope the corporations that make our uniforms for our military and the like are American companies. But to have gotten to that and to sit here and blame it on Donald Trump is not true. Donald Trump just has a real bad plan of getting us out of it. He thinks that turning back the clock is going to work it out, and it's not. It's going to make it crash very hard and make us all crash. But unfortunately, I think it's going to make a lot of folks run back to the Democrats because you really don't have many other choices. I'm sorry. You really don't have any other choices. It's very unfortunate that we as a country are in this position where we have not at least came up with a viable third option that we could vote and put in there. Split that Congress and that Senate. I mean, split that Congress completely in thirds. The duopoly just isn't working for us. And everybody really looks back at Bill Clinton's days like he's really a good president. How he balanced the budget and left the country with the last time our budget was balanced, but with no way, if we get in debt, of ever balancing it again, because we have no worth in this world other than consumers. Worldwide, we are the market people want to get into. And for Bill Clinton to put us on that path, and then followed by the next subsequent Democrat, which was Barack Obama, who didn't take us off that course. He said things about the United States of America not being ready for reparations. And that may or may not be true. I disagree, but you know, I know what he's saying, but they have to be ready. It's like a rainy day or a sunny day or a hurricane or an avalanche or a forest fire. You don't get to pick if you're ready. It just is what it is. And that's how I look at reparations. But Obama didn't. Obama looked like the country wasn't ready for it. So since that's how he thinks, I'm just trying to lay a little groundwork there. If that's how he thinks, then why didn't he feel the same way about the economy? Why didn't he see that it was unsustainable? Why didn't he see that the American public is not ready for where we were heading? Why didn't he as a president see that? Like, man, he didn't see it. Asleep at the wheel. And here we are. 2 terms of Clinton, 2 terms of Obama, 1 term of Biden. Biden kept us sliding down that hill. No Democrat woke up and stopped it. No Democrat turned us around. No Democrat said, yeah, this ain't going to work. That NAFTA, with Canada and Mexico getting all of our factories and being able to still sell the same products, but with no tariffs attached to them or very low tariffs. Well, how in the hell does that benefit us? It benefits the owners of those companies who got tired of dealing with those American workers and their high wages and their complaints and their medical care and all the other things they had to deal with. So it was okay for the Democratic Party to go into other countries and abuse their workers and pay them less and allow our business owners to get away with it and then just sell us the goods. If that's why we're where we are. Now, Donald Trump is the wrong guy to get us out of it, but I really would like to know who would have gotten us. Let's say Biden's mind was tight and he would have ran again and won. And what would he have done? He would have continued us on that path because we haven't crashed yet. We're just sliding fast, but we haven't crashed. Once we crash, everybody's going to go, whoa, what the? And whoever's in office is probably going to get blamed for it. But it's been 30 years in the making. And we all been just sitting here just riding along like it's a roller coaster and it's just fun. And they had an opportunity with Obama to fix this, to put us on a different path, I might say. But what Obama chose to do was double down. When they got us in all that trouble with the financial crisis, which was a part of NAFTA, and allowing the corporations and the mortgage companies and all these people all this power. And look what they did to us. The country was in such a bad financial state, they elected a black man. That's how scared they were. So we get our black man in there and he takes the taxpayers' money and bails out all the banks. And all the taxpayers lost their homes, lost their businesses, lost their livelihoods. But he made sure that Obama made sure that those corporations maintained their power. But the black people who owned homes, who lost them, lost their opportunity at generational wealth, lost their opportunity to give their children a home when they die. And people think that I'm a Trump supporter. People who know the facts and the history of what went on in this country are Trump. You're not a Trump supporter. You're living in reality. And you know damn well if you take that power away from Trump, because he's trying to fix what they messed up, in his opinion, and they're trying to hold on to what they think is a smoother ride for us to the bottom, because they cannot say that we as a country are getting stronger. So they're just trying to find a nice soft place to land the Democrats. That's what it looks like. And the Republicans are not accepting that reality and are trying to fight us back in a short order. And we are going to be in a lot of trouble. Either way is what I'm saying. Neither party has voiced a plan that's going to get us in a place where we're really going to be, not feel better, but really be better, in a better place. The Democrats ship all our jobs overseas and across the borders, north and south, and then open our borders up to allow all of these illegal immigrants to come into our country and compete for jobs that we don't even have. That's why everyone in the country is making not that much money. The jobs aren't that good. And then Trump didn't help. He comes in wiping out government jobs, which have been safe haven and a good place for people to find alternative employment when the factories and the companies in the United States started to go other places. Some people actually packed up their lives and went with them down in Mexico. Some people really had to make hard choices like, man, you know, what am I going to do? This is all I've ever done. And I've been paid well for it. And they're about to just shut my factory down and take it away. And then the solar panels and the electric vehicles and all the other stuff that we are being pushed to buy comes from abroad. It's a sad thing. And it's really sadder when they have us fighting for our own demise, which they've become quite skilled at. And they get this James Carville strategist. What is his strategy? Honestly, to just win again? Is that it? He'd win with Biden. He'd win with anybody, as long as it's an old school Democrat who does not want to change the party, who does not want the new. And I'm sorry, it's too late for AOC and Bernie. Bernie Sanders had his opportunity, but once you stand up there and endorse Biden, I'm done. You can drop out of the race and not endorse him. You ran a good race, but you cannot tell us that Joe Biden was a viable candidate for us, and he wasn't. And you know the big picture. All of you do. All of the politicians know it. The pundits know it. They know why we are where we are. But to keep saying it will shock people and make people dislike you and look at you like, you're a liar. No one else has said that to me, because nobody else, and the people who do, are telling you the truth, but they're in the minority. And we have sank to this place, and to get out of it is not the Trump way, and it damn sure ain't the way they got us into it. But it would probably take a combination of those two, trying to really work it out and do something that's going to benefit the people down here, or else we're going to be where we are. And that's like in confusion, in a basic state of confusion as a country.
But if you're spending all your time, and I think that's the real problem. And I mean, it's fine. They draw big crowds. They draw everything. That's great. But all they want to do, and all this guy Hogg wants to do, is they want to beat, like Democrats are not the problem right now. We're not holding an innocent person in El Salvador in jail.
That's the second time he brought that up. And the reason I'm pointing it out is because he really don't have nothing. He don't have nothing that he could say that's just going to fire you up out of that chair you're sitting in and go out and do something. Because they're talking about an El Salvadorian guy who snuck into the country illegally, and they expect that to be our battle cry. It ain't working.
We're not starting a trade, an ill thought out, idiotic trade war. Yet they're
But it was idiotic to send those products overseas. Trust and believe that. He ain't going to say that, though. He's going to act like it's always been that way. It hasn't been. It was here. We were able to be more self-sufficient. And of course you have trade in the world. You always will, but you don't encourage it. You don't encourage your millionaires and billionaires in your country to take through however you did it. I guess through tax incentives. Because if you can go down to Mexico and ship your products back up without tariffs being attached to them, then why wouldn't you? With those lower wages over there. And to lie to the American public about what you're doing or how you're doing it or not being clear, you're just making it seem like these factories in America are just closing and the ones in Mexico and Canada are just popping up. It's not that way.
spending all their time, a lot of their time, I'll be fair to Bernie and AC, they do attack Trump, but they never run against Republicans. And when Bernie ran twice as a Democrat, he lost, and he lost by a lot. So maybe the Democratic Party is trying to tell you something.
Yeah, but they believe Democrats. They didn't, for the most part, didn't trust Bernie because they look at him as a bleeding heart liberal and all he wants to do is help people. But Bernie is against reparations. As I can say that. Yeah, I don't look at Bernie Sanders as a good candidate. I don't think we should be listening to what he's trying to sell us right now. First, he's too old. And some people say, well, if they're old, but they got a good mind, their mind, I don't care how goddamn good your mind is. It ain't as good as it was when you were young. And you should step back and let some of these young people do it. They can get down. I know they could. I'm looking forward to it. New, fresh ideas. Can you imagine somebody coming in with the information that's put out here in front of us and really strategically trying to get us out of this hole, as opposed to Trump trying to make a flash in the pan? Everybody look at him like some kind of big old hero. I don't know what Trump got going on over there, but I will tell you this. He got a loyal group of folks that ain't going nowhere no matter what. I believe the Democrats have potential to lose even more people than they already have through education. It seems that the more Democrats seem to know about that party, the more they kind of don't feel comfortable with them. Not that you're going to feel comfortable with the Republicans either, but it just kind of makes you want to just disassociate because you see the stench coming from both sides. And that's the unfortunate part. But I can tell you this. Our guy, Bill Clinton, put us on a downward spiral in his efforts to balance the budget. And he did. He balanced the budget, but at a cost to us. At a cost to us that we may historically be able to look back and see. But right now, I don't think that history is being very honest as far as what Bill Clinton and then Barack Obama. As soon as Clinton got out of office, all we had was one Republican president, which was Bush. And he piled money on that with the Iraq wars, and a lot of things were going on. And when we needed a president to come in and stabilize the country and get everything right, Obama came in and got us back to what we're used to, losing, giving all our money to the big guys and letting them figure it out, taking all that money from our tax base and giving it to all these banks, and no one in the numbers that should have happened were being prosecuted and sent to prison. How does all these lives and all this money come up just unexplainable to anybody in any coherent way? And Obama does nothing about it but reward it by giving them an opportunity to not only come back from what they had lost, but to flourish, to go beyond where they were. And on our dime. And then people who lost their homes, what did they get? Many of them, the opportunity to never own a home again.
You lose twice. There's probably a message in there. I don't know.
Well, listen, I have no problem with more parties. I think that coalitions will probably be a more effective structure than what we have right now, because you have a binary battle to the bottom. Which side is worse? That's what these parties spend all their time on.
Well, maybe, as I said, maybe they need to split off from the Democratic Party and call themselves the socialists. I don't know, urbanists, central city.
But you know why they're doing
Socialists, urbanists. I don't know, what urban city? Is he talking about us? I don't know. I hate when people say shit like that. That's not some terms I'm used to. Is he trying to slide us in there on that ultra liberal side? I'm going to tell you something, you guys. That's a part of the United States government, both sides, I've never agreed with, that the black people are looked at as such outcasts for only advocating for themselves. We're not wingnut people. We have normal lives, normal families, and normal hopes and dreams for ourselves, just like with everybody else. The only thing that makes us radical is that we're black. We don't want to do anything in this country like take it over or change laws or rules or any of that stuff. I like the rules and the laws the way they are. As long as they're applied evenly, they're fine. As long as everybody gets the laws implemented upon them and applied evenly, fine. So what makes us so fringe? What makes us, and people in the Democratic Party as well, don't vote with us and for us on a lot of issues, and not because of our ideas or our beliefs, because we're black, because they know that if they support us, they'll lose support somewhere. And that's unfortunate. They want us to help them though. But I didn't like that little urbanist. What the fuck did that mean? Urbanist. I'm just saying. He is describing the folks that he thinks should basically split off from the party. And I wish he would just say it. I think LGBT is out there far like they consider black people. And I'm like, gosh, I feel for LGBT people and what they got to go through in their lives and all of that. But damn, you're going to put black people out as on a far part of the wing with LGBTQ plus, and nothing personal against them or anything. But, you know, they were never slaves. And we are not much different than any other group in the country, except we're black. That's it. We want the same things.
it. They looked at MAGA, and they did what we see all the time when you don't have better minds and better ideas. This is why you were so transcendent in politics, is that, and I always find it so cheap when people say, oh, Jim Carville, oh yeah, it's the economy, stupid. No, that wasn't your genius.
No, that was it. He's a corporate Democrat. He's hooked up with folks with money. He's a very rich Louisianian. And it ain't nothing wrong with it. But be what you are. Don't be trying to use humanitarian ideas and reasons to get minorities who you really don't have the best intentions for, just to support your ideas and your party and get your people back in power so they can continue to screw them. That ain't right.
Genius was, I'm not going to be what beats me. What you see with Bernie and AOC right now is MAGA playbook. MAGA playbook. Make the masses angry. Dave Hogg, that's MAGA playbook. Go after your own and have a purity test. But what beats you, if you become that, you're not going to beat it.
Right. Well, I don't think that most of the Democrats are that. And maybe we need to have a schism. Maybe we can form a governing coalition. You know, this happens every time in parliamentary things where you come in, you say, okay, you want to be part of our coalition. But when they spend all their time running against us, by the way, why don't somebody sue David Hogg? He's an officer of the Democratic National Committee. He is the
David Hogg is that new vice chair of the DNC, and he's the one who is open to Democrats primary and other Democrats if they're too old, or as he backed down and said, ineffective. And in truth, yeah, I believe every party should do that. It doesn't have to be a time like what we're going through. We should always want the strongest candidate and the best candidate, the most effective candidate, and not somebody who everybody has been fooled into liking and thinking that they're really good and they're not. Somebody needs to get up there and primary them and call them out on what they do and the committees that they belong to and how effective they are, and their amount of votes that they missed and all that stuff. We're way too easy, and we need to tighten it up. because by trusting the Democrats, look where it has gotten us. By sitting back and not pushing Barack Obama, and when he was campaigning, let him know you better not bail these damn banks out. What did he do? Get in there and bail out the mortgage companies and the banks, and we all lose our homes. And then there you go. And then we're on a path that's unsustainable. The money that's being piled up on our credit card, the country national debt. The national debt is being piled up because of people and things that aren't even helping the general population. If they just bought a whole bunch of homes and gave them out to homeless people, or just took money and fixed the homeless problem, whatever it costs, just fix it and put that money on the country's credit card as part of the national debt. That's the kind of stuff that makes sense, though. And you probably wouldn't even have to use that kind of money. We may have that. Just take it from somewhere else and put it over there and get the homeless off the streets. But as long as we keep doing what we're doing and allowing our Democrats to be so far this way and the Republicans so far that way on these economics, that we get a guy in who thinks he's got all the answers, he just don't have time on his side. There's no way he's going to be able to do this and make everybody okay with it. It's going to be way too bumpy.
Vice chairman of the Democratic National Committee, and he's running against other Democrats. I would like to know, and you went to law school, does he have a fiduciary duty toward Democrats? If you work for News Nation, you can't promote CNN. That's because you work for somebody else.
Yeah, but he's not promoting Republicans. That guy David Hogg or whatever his name is, he's basically just saying, we need to look around, see if some of these people need to be primaried. And I was like, I heard that story. I was like, oh my God, I couldn't wait to get to my computer. And then I got to my computer and I looked into it and they backed him down. He talking about, I just talking about ineffective. And then somebody just point blank said, is Nancy Pelosi one of the Democrats that you may be thinking about? Oh, no. He didn't say we're looking into it, or he said no. So with that being said, that means a whole bunch of the other old ones are going to be sticking around because they're going to call them effective. So basically, the Democratic Party is not going anywhere. This guy is the vice DNC chair, so he has to be careful about how he navigates himself around. Maybe coming out and making such a public statement was foolish. Maybe he should have went and got with the main chair and talked to him first. Say, hey, man, we need to holler. We need to primary some of these old folks. Then you can talk in plain terms and keep it real. But coming out like that and trying to get these cameras in your face, it backfired because all the Democrats are pissed off at you now. You're trying to primary us. And because this is not the time to be primarying on either side. You need whatever works to keep working. But the Democrats have to realize what doesn't work. And they do have to kind of make a move and take a chance. The Republicans are in a place where they can not take as much of a risk and hopefully coast in with a slim majority. But if the Democrats plan on overtaking the majority that the Republicans have and getting their own, they're going to have to take a risk. If they play it too safe, it's going to end up about like it is or worse.
Have a fiduciary duty to your employer, which anybody can understand. He's being paid to run against other Democrats. I think it's an outrage. I don't know if I have standing, but I might give the DNC $10 and sue him.
He really would sue the guy. You guys think he playing? He probably would really do it, and that'd be another big story. But you can't fight change in the courtroom. You just can't. And if I was the young guy, the DNC chair, he's a young guy. I had no gray in his hair, a little bit maybe, but he looked like the kind of man who is just advocating for change. And when you have these dinosaurs opposing you and fighting and dragging their feet, that's where we have to come in and we have to make up our mind who we're going to support. The newer people coming in to run the country in hopefully a more humane and civil way, Or do we want to keep up with the James Carvilles who got us in the place that we're in now by advising and pumping folks up and making them think that these horrible ideas were good ideas because they're corporate Democrats and they like money, and that's all you hear about is Elon Musk, richest man in the country. Elon Musk. Well, that's who Obama palled around with. That's who the Clintons palled around with, the corporate elite. They wasn't out. You didn't see Obama out there community organizing after or since his presidency. I mean, prior to or since his presidency. Once he got in office and got that out the way, that community organizing shit was just a stick to get to the White House. A Harvard-educated community organizer. That we should have known better. We should have known better.
He's a contemptible little twerp, if you ask me.
Sue his ass, Jim. I'll have you on the show to talk about it.
Yeah, I might. I don't know if I have standing, but somebody can stand it.
Hey, thanks for watching.
Yeah, they really are on one. And that Carville is a guy who needs to be back. And I'm talking about old people. His ideas and beliefs got us where we are. We don't need more of that. And in honesty, the country is on its way to not being the same United States. I believe we'll always be a country and all that, but we will not be the leader in the world if we continue to take big parts of our country and economic engines and allowing people for their short-term riches or their financial gain and generational wealth for them and their family, and risking the United States as a whole, taking your steel mill or your chemical company or whatever you have going out of the United States only because it's what? Cheaper to operate. But you have to sell your products in the United States for that to work out. You can't take your business out of the United States and cut off the export part of it. You still want to be able to have access. And I don't think that our politicians should play party to that. They should look out for us. Say, wait a minute, business owner, what do you want to do? Okay. I think that's going to harm the American public more than it's going to help them. And don't go for it. Say, no, we're not going to agree with that one. Sorry. Go see if you can sell it to the Republicans. But the Democrats bought it, unfortunately. Like, comment, share, and please subscribe. And we'll see you on the next Black Popcorn.